Folks, this condo buyer is in for a massive surprise. I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for condos across the GTA for week ending June 18th, 2025. I'm working with a young family looking to buy a condo, and there's lots to choose from. We find one that they really like. We put in an offer. Our offer has a financing condition, a status review condition, and our price is a little bit on the low side. So we put the offer in. Short while later, I receive an update through email and text that a second offer has been submitted on this condo. A little while after that, the listing agent phones me and she says, Santo, I guess you're aware by now that we've received another offer. I suggest you speak with your clients, she tells me, and says, increase your price and remove your conditions. Well, these are typical things that a listing agent would say. Remember, the listing agent is working for the seller, so yeah, of course, they want as much money as possible and remove your conditions. A firm sale is better than a conditional sale. So I get where she's coming from. And so I relay the message to my clients and I say, look, there's another offer and we have an opportunity to resubmit. We really should be looking at price and conditions as to what we want to do in resubmitting another offer. And so we discuss price, first of all. Well, we knew we were coming in low. My clients were comfortable and understood that we were coming in a bit low. So there was a bit of room for us to improve our price. And we came up with a better price that we were going to submit. Then we were speaking about the financing condition. We got on a three-way call with my client's mortgage broker, and it was determined that my clients were fairly strong, and based on the price and my client's financial position, that the mortgage broker was comfortable in that condition being removed. And now we're speaking about status review condition. My client's attitude was that they expect over time maintenance fees to go up. They expect these situations in the condo, and so they're kind of back and forth. Should they remove it? Should they not? And my attitude to them was absolutely not. Do not remove the status review condition. You can control your financing. We opted not to have a home inspection condition. It was a fairly newer condo, so okay, we'll remove that. But the status review, we have no control. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes with management and the condo board and how things are run, and there's all sorts of things we don't know. So keep the status review condition and have your lawyer review it so you know for sure. And I also thought most sellers expect to have a status review condition on any condo that they're selling. It's just par for the course. And so we left that condition in. We removed the financing condition. We improved our price and we resubmitted the offer. Later that evening, the listing agent calls me, says, Santo, the sellers have decided to accept the other offer because it had no conditions. I'm thinking, wow, this other buyer went in and bought with not even a status review condition. Hey, these things happen. I explain to my clients that we've lost out on this one. They're a bit bummed out, but there's lots of condos out there. And we continue over the next few days. We continue our search. About 2 weeks later, in that same building that we tried to buy on, another condo gets listed. Same floor plan or very similar floor plan. We quickly go to see it. My clients like it, and we submit an offer. Fair price based on what we were looking to buy before, a little bit on the low side. We did include a financing condition. We did include a status review condition. There's a bit of negotiation back and forth between my side and the seller side, But that evening, our offer got accepted, and now we have a conditional sale in place. My clients are pretty happy. Over the next few days, we deal with the financing condition, and that gets resolved. We're ready to waive that condition, and we receive the status certificate from the seller side. My client's lawyer is now reviewing the status certificate and all the supporting documents, and the report back from the lawyer to my clients was, there's a bunch of problems going on here, financial problems that are not going to be inexpensive and that potentially are going to be long-term. And the lawyer's advice back to my clients was, if she was the one buying this condo, she probably wouldn't. And so my clients take this advice and decide to back out of the deal. We couldn't fulfill that condition. And so I'm now thinking, what about that first buyer that we were competing with? They went in and bought without a status review condition. That's the buyer that's in for a massive surprise. Folks, if you're buying a condo, you decide your financing, you decide on home inspection if you're going to have those conditions or not. But status review condition, you have zero control of what's been happening behind the scenes. Unless you have, as a buyer, intimate knowledge of what's going on with the condo board and their finances and everything else going on behind the scenes, you got to have that condition in there. And most condo sellers expect that condition. Most agents selling condos, buying condos, expect that condition to be there. So if you're buying a condo, don't let anybody pressure you to remove the lawyer's review of the status certificate. That condition needs to be there. Otherwise, you may be in for a very, very rough condo ownership experience. If you feel this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me directly about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a date and time that suits you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the condo numbers. Folks, during this show, I'm introducing a new chart that breaks down cost per square foot. And at the end of the show, we'd like you to click the link on the screen. It's to two condos we want you to have a look at. Let's get started. So this show is all about condos for the GTA. We're going to be breaking down prices, activities, sales, all sorts of things to do with condos for the City of Toronto, for York Region, and for Peel Region condos. Real quickly on the board here, I've got average sold prices for 3 months. When we look at the average price in Peel, which is $514,000, versus the average price in the City of Toronto, which is $712,000, the difference, it's almost $200,000 difference. It's $198,000 difference in average sold price. So big difference depending on where you're buying. We're going to start off with the City of Toronto. For week ending June 18th, 161 condos were sold. 18 of those sold at $1 million or more. I'm not really seeing a trend one way or another for sales. They seem kind of flat, usually from the beginning of the year to sometime end of spring, sometime early summer, sales trend up and then they trend down to August. We're not seeing that with condo sales. And I've got a line here. Forgive me that the line is not so straight. I noticed it afterwards, but it's basically last year, this year. That's what that line was supposed to represent. And average prices for a while there looked like they were trending up, then down. And for this 1 week, they're back up again. It's really tricky to say right now what trend we're on, but this is what's happening. Week ending June 18th, the average price for condo sales across the city of Toronto was $712,000. 712 is 4% lower than where the price was this time a year ago. The median price is 625,000 and it's 6% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The dotted line, that's a 4-week moving average. And when we look at average price since mid-May, average price looks like it's trending down. When we look at the median price, it's showing more flat. And I'm looking at the dotted line, the 4-week moving average. 161 were sold. 39 of those, so 24% sold at list price or more. Listings still quite high. 871 condos were listed. Now some of these are relist. They're not just brand new condos coming on for the very first time, but total 871. Active listings still climbing. We're now sitting at 6,582 available condo apartments for sale. So when you think about that, 6,582, I'm going to go back to remind you, 161 were sold. There's almost 6,600 available for sale. Basically what we're saying is that 2.5% of all condos available for sale actually sold in this 1 week ending June 18th. Only 2.5% sold. Months of inventory for all condos across the city of Toronto, 9.4 months of inventory. Pretty much, you can't be more clear, it's pretty much a buyer's market. Let's break the data down into different parts of the city. So I've broken City of Toronto down into 9 sections. If the whole city is 9.4 months of inventory, there's some areas outperforming the 9.4 and there's some areas underperforming that are in a worse situation. So the areas that are a bit more active, but still a buyer's market, well, East York, 6.5 months of inventory, High Park, 6.8 months of inventory, and we go the other way. Scarborough, 11 months of inventory. Willowdale, Bayview, so Uptown, 7.7 months of inventory. Midtown, 9.2 months of inventory. Etobicoke, 13 months of inventory, more than a year there, a year and a month. So depending on where you are, the condo buying or selling experience is going to be different. Let's look at things from another perspective. Let's look at prices based on 1-bedroom versus 2-bedroom condos. I have 1 bedroom on the board for week ending June 18th, 72 1-bedroom condos sold. Average sold price sitting at $564,000. It's really difficult looking at this to kind of spot a trend, but I believe overall, and I'm going back since the beginning of the year, overall, average prices for the 1-bedroom are very slightly down since the beginning of the year. Compared to last year, $564,000 is 7% lower year over year. And if you look back, the contrast, it's pretty safe to say between 7, 8, 9% is more often the difference between this year's average price versus last year. That's for 1 bedroom. Let's look at 2-bedroom condos. 80 2-bedroom condos were sold. Average sold price is sitting at $825,000, and since the beginning of the year, it looks like average sold price for 2 bedrooms is climbing. It's trending upwards. Compared to last year, 825 is 1% lower. Here's the contrast between the two. The orange, that's 1 bedroom. The blue, those are 2 bedrooms. Sales, pretty similar. There's not a huge difference in sales one way or the other. Average sold price, there's a $261,000 price difference between the average 1 bedroom that sold and the average 2 bedroom that sold. Now the 1 bedroom include the 1 bedroom plus den, and the 2 bedroom also include the 2 bedroom plus den. So I'm taking all 2 bedrooms versus all 1 bedroom. But there's a $261,000 price difference, and it looks like prices for 1 bedroom trending down like just a little bit, but 2 bedroom overall perhaps trending upwards. Let me show you a different chart. This is the first time I put this chart on the board. What I've done is I've taken all the sales, and instead of breaking them down by 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, broke them down by square footage. Now the square footage that I'm using is the square footage, it's a range per whatever's written on the MLS listing. So there's a drop-down window when we put a condo listing up for sale, and we've got to pick, is it, 0 to 499 square feet? Is it 500 to 599 square feet? So I've got the range from going 0 to 499. The top of my range is 1,200 to 1,399 square feet. How many units sold? So 5 to 599, 23 units sold, and I'm picking some of the larger sale. 7 to 799, 23 units sold. 8 to 899, 21 units sold. 1,000 to 1,199 square feet, 19 units sold. So you can see the breakdown there. There's no standout winner as far as, wow, this one square footage section is selling way more condos than the other ones. It's pretty much 23, 23, 21, 19. Those are the top numbers. But look at average sold price. And average sold price, all I'm doing is taking how many sold divided by the volume of sales gives me an average sold price. So average sold price, when we go smallest square footage to largest, well, the average sold price, almost every single category, it increases. 0 to 499, the average sold price is $443,000. As square footage increases, the average sold price is higher, which makes sense, right? Because a lot of the prices are based on price per square footage. So larger square footage, the average sold price is going to be more. So we go from 443,000 to just over $1 million as the average sold price. And those ones averaging at $1 million average sold price is 1,200 to 1,399 square feet. But let's look at price per square footage. And what I've written here, the base square footage, because there's a range here, I had to pick a number that I'm going to use as the square footage. And I've basically picked the number that falls in the middle. So 8 to 899, I took the base of, let's say it's right in the middle, 850, 950, 650. That's what I've done. The only one that I didn't is the 0 to 499, because the middle would be 250 square feet. That's about this big. So I went to 475. But when we look at cost per square footage, wow, it goes the opposite way. The larger the square footage, it's $779 per square foot is basically what it's sold at. The smaller square footage is sold at just over $900 per square foot. So smaller square footage, cost per square footage is higher. As you increase your square footage, cost per square footage drops, right? It goes up this way. But let's break it down a little bit further. Here are my notes. If you're wondering, well, what's the average cost per square footage? Well, if you're buying between 475 to 599 square feet, so just under 6, the average sales for week ending June 18th, you're basically paying $925 per square foot. If you're buying between 600 and 899, so basically between 600 and 900 square feet, last week, those prices were basically $860 per square foot. And if you're buying over 900 square feet, you're basically paying $780 per square foot. When I look at this, and I'm thinking that, 900 or so dollars per square foot is the most, but these are averages. And I know there are thousands of condos pre-construction closing this year. And when they were purchased, I don't know of any that were purchased for less than $1,400 a square foot. There was many purchased for $1,500 a square foot, $1,600, $1,700, $1,800 a square foot and more. But the averages range from $780 to $930 per square foot. But people are closing today at $1,400, $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 a square foot. See where the problem is? That's a huge, huge issue with the condos today. Here we go. York region. For week ending June 18th, 28 condos were sold. One of them sold at $1 million or more. Average sold price is $622,000. Average sold price is trending down. Sales, I'm not sure if there's a trend there. They just happen to be whatever they are. 622 is 9% lower than where we were this time a year ago. The median price of 575 is 17% lower year over year. The dotted line, the 4-week moving average, also kind of indicates that average price and median price has been trending down. 28 were sold. 5 of those, so 18%, sold at list price or more. So there are 28 sales, but there's 1,222 available for sale. Those are the active listings. So basically, 2.3% of all available condos in New York region actually sold for this week. And months of inventory way up there at 10.1 months of inventory. Here's Peel region. The majority of these condos are located in Mississauga, but if we look at all of Peel region for week ending June 18th, 32 condos sold. 2 of those sold at $1 million or more. Average sold price of $514,000. Average sold price overall has been trending down. Compared to last year, 514 is 16% lower. The median price of 486 is 21% lower. 32 sold. So 9 of those, or 28%, sold at list price or more. But remember, 32 sold. We have 1,288 available for sale. Active listings is climbing. And when we look at the solds, well, basically we're saying 2.6% of all available condos in Peel region actually sold during week ending June 18th. And months of inventory sitting at 8.9 months of inventory. Here's a summary of all the months of inventory. All City of Toronto sitting at 9.4. 1-bedroom condos for the City of Toronto, 9.7. 2-bedroom condos for the City of Toronto, sitting at 8.2. So between 8.2 and 9.7, averages the 9.4. York region, 10.1. Peel region, 8.9. It's a buyer's market, folks, no matter how you slice it. Sure, there's going to be individual situations where that one exceptional condo that more than one buyer wants to buy. But there's lots of choices out there. If you're a buyer, you got lots of choices. If you're a seller, these are the challenges you need to overcome. Thanks for watching. Now check out these 2 awesome condos we have listed for sale.